Oh, I didn't see you there. What is it that you're seeking?
I seek knowledge. I want to know more about the ways of throwing weapons.
Well, if it's knowledge you want, it's knowledge you shall have. So the first one here is what I call the thrust throw. You're going to throw it and basically impale the enemy. It is one of the more precise ways you can throw, and it is highly remoldable. But you cannot dismember anybody with it. So you will not get any decaps or anything like that with it, but it is quite accurate. The next one is side throw. This one is basically used mostly to either stun the enemy or used to take a little bit of damage on them. Just quickly, if you have one more sword at you, you can just side throw it and get them to take a little bit of damage. It can dismember people, it can decapitate them even. It is quite usable, and we'll get into it later, but with axes this is extremely powerful. The next one we have here is what I call the back throw. This one is highly inaccurate, highly unreliable, but you can get a lot of speed with it, and you can basically just throw enemies off their feet with it. In some cases. It is highly inaccurate though, unless you train a lot, which I don't because it is so inaccurate. But you can get a lot of speed, especially with knives. You can get enough speed to instantly kill the enemy with such a throw. But it is highly inaccurate. The next one, what I call the handle throw. You're going to throw the handle of your weapon at the enemy. This one is highly usable against armored enemies, because you cannot, if it's an enemy that has fully plated armor, you cannot always get a direct hit with a side throw or thrust throw. Therefore you're going to use a handle throw that can get them off their feet and make them fall over so you can easily kill them. And the last one, a down throw. You're going to whip your arm down and you're going to release the trigger and you're going to hit the target. So firstly we're going to take a look at just a few weapons. The first one is short sword, one of the best weapons to throw. It has a low chance of decapitation for the most part, but it is extremely accurate and you can make all the different kind of throws with a short sword. The next one is an axe, one of my favorites to use because it is so devastating for the enemies when you throw it. Throw it at their head, they're almost immediately dead. If you accidentally miss or miscalculate, you're going to hit them with the handle and they will get stunned. You can even make them jump, and that's not even just a bug with like the medieval melee. No, it's the normal weapon from Blade and Sorcery. You can actually make them jump up in the air just by easily throwing them at their feet, or the knees more accurately. With some of the weapons from the medieval megapad, it is one of the more accurate ways to decapitate someone with a throw, because the axes in that pack is extremely devastating. But normally, even with the normal weapons from any pack, axes are extremely usable when thrown. Normally I'm not the best, not the biggest lover of axes because they have a tendency to get stuck in the enemy. But with throwing weapons, or with the throwing techniques, especially side throwing, the axes are devastating and almost just the best weapon in the game to throw. Just because they are so devastating. Because a normal sword you can throw it at the face, they will not die at it unless you thrust throw it. But with the axe, if you side throw it, you're almost always gonna kill them. Now we come to the knife. You will be surprised that this is not effective at throwing. Most of them, if you throw like downwards, you can throw a knife quite easily. But with the throws I've just mentioned, you can get a lot of accurate hits on them. But it is surprisingly non-effective when you compare it to the other ones. Because the knife is so small and has so little it can actually hit the target with, it is not that useful. They are still quite accurate though. I'm going to add a little bit to this because they are actually useful because they are more accurate than the other ones. They are harder to block or parry when thrown. And they're also quite easy to get out of an enemy when in them. Because compared to the other weapons I'm going to mention, or I have mentioned, they are quite small so they can actually be easily obtained again after use. Now it's time for the maces. Maces are actually a quite interesting thing because they cannot kill an enemy by decapitation or anything like that, or a headshot. But what they are really good at is when you side throw them, it do not matter if you back throw them or side throw them. They are still going to make the enemy fall down and you can easily kill them. No matter where you hit on the enemy with a mace, they're going to go down. Almost always, if you hit hard enough. Or throw hard enough. Just keep that in mind, maces are incredibly good at this. Now we come to spear and javelins. I'm sorry to say that they are absolutely unusable in most instances. Because when you throw them, you can only really thrust throw them. Because if you try to throw them from your shoulder, they will either be highly inaccurate, unless you really learn how to do it. But even if you do, they have a tendency to give the user damage, because the way the game works is that it thinks you got hit by the spear first, before you hit it. And that's kind of a big issue. So therefore I will not recommend throwing a spear in any case, unless it's thrust throw. Definitely not shoulder throw, unless you're really certain where it's going to hit. Otherwise you risk either taking damage or just not hitting your mark at all. It doesn't even have that going for it that it's easy to get out of an enemy, because it's most definitely isn't. It all have a tendency to get stuck in terrain and places like that. So either if it's a javelin or a spear, I will be very careful when throwing it, because it can end in many bad ways. I hope you loved the journey we just went on. And I would love to hear in the comments if you knew all of these tricks, or if you actually learned something from it. But with that said, please like if you loved the video, leave a comment of what you thought, and maybe even subscribe if you're that brave. But other than that, have a good one.